Well, welcome back to EVE Online with me, Mark from DadX, and today we're going to first look at the Interstellar Convergence, the Doctor Who event starting next week here in EVE Online. An interesting event, a very unexpected event to be honest, and one that has certainly produced a variety of responses. We shall look at those when we've looked at the event itself. Now, we've seen the video, so we don't need to look at that again. Obviously, I'm sure if you know Eve and you're watching one of my videos, the chances are you know who Doctor Who is. I grew up in Britain in the 70s and 80s, so Doctor Who is literally part of my upbringing. Yeah, there wasn't much else to do. We only had 3 television channels back then, you know, and everybody watched Doctor Who. It was simply like that. So I think John Pertwee, this chap here, he's the first one that I remember seeing on TV, him in his yellow car, mostly based on Earth, I remember. The ones I saw with him in it. And then obviously we went to Tom Baker, the man with the scarf, who, yeah, for me is probably the Doctor Who. And then I kind of grew up, lost interest, and didn't really see it until the kids were old enough to watch Doctor Who. I didn't really watch the Doctor Who much. I remember enjoying a series called, I think it was Torchwood, like a spin-off that my daughter really enjoyed when she was sort of 14, 15. That was cool. But not so much Doctor Who. It's definitely a thing of my childhood. So I haven't seen it for a very long time, but it's certainly near and dear to my heart. So certainly interesting. But as we know, Doctor Who is all about time travel, and Eve is all about space travel. So how do the two meet? That's what we really want to know, isn't it? So it looks like it's going to be an instanced event, as in you're going to pop a filament, go into a little instance where your PvE event takes place. Whether it's private or how private it might stay remains to be seen. And the event is set before the 400-year-long war between the Time Lords and the Daleks, the last great time war. Now, I'm no expert on Doctor Who lore at all, but the reception from Doctor Who fans seems to be pretty good, as we'll see after we finish looking. It says here it's going to be a beguiling mystery, a trail of clues, multiple challenges, themed items, and even a vibrant new area of space. And it looks brilliant. I mean, the environments in the Abyss sites I really, really like. If you've never run an Abyss site, you are missing out. The visuals are amazing in there. And this looks up to the same kind of standard. We've got another shot down here. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing it. And it's something different and is there to try out or ignore as you see fit. I'm quite interested to see what it's like. It might turn out that it's really not my cup of tea and I didn't enjoy it, and if a similar event comes up again, I might not bother, but I'm going to see what it's like and find out. I think that's probably the best thing to do. So we're going to have some Doctor Who related artifacts. I've seen items, scarves, etc, etc. Maybe there'll be a hat, who knows. I'm not too up to date with Doctor Who outfits and their identifiers. I've also seen mention of renamed boosters. So really, I've heard a lot of complaints about this being, something that the devs have wasted their time on. I can't imagine, to be honest, I'm no IT expert, that this isn't a huge investment of time. But I certainly think it's a worthwhile investment of the time that they put into it. So it sounds like we're going to have to find some stuff out and about and then track down the Daleks and no doubt exterminate them before they exterminate us. Who knows how it's going to work? I don't know. It's intriguing. I mean, let's face it, for most of us, we found our little place in Eve. And obviously I'm talking to the people that already play Eve rather than anybody else that might have come across this because of the crossover, and we'll discuss that too. We all play Eve kind of in our way, so I think it's nice to be offered something else to do. I really enjoy running the Hunt event every year. It's the only event I really look forward to be honest with you, because it's just fast, frantic fun, and I can do it in cheap ships and make some fun vids. And just show people how far an alpha can go being crazy. And best of all, it makes you learn how to descan, and that's got to be good for everyone. Apart from the hunters, of course, but you know what I mean. That's my kind of event. It's not everyone's cup of tea. That's great. You might love an event I don't get too invested in. I'm not too interested in. That's great. They can't all be for everybody. So let's see what it is. We've never had something that sounds like what this event is going to be, of, you know, finding clues and following around. Let's see how it's implemented. I certainly think, from the point of view of just something else to have in Eve for a couple of weeks, it's really, really good. Especially as it is something that is completely optional. All it's going to leave in the game, as far as I can tell, is going to be some cosmetic items in the form of skins and some scarves and bits and pieces on character portraits you can't actually see unless you really make an effort. Reception to this announcement has, however, been mixed. First of all, we're going to look externally, as it were, at the Doctor Who community here on their YouTube page, which has almost 1.6 million subscribers. They've had the trailer up for a couple of days, 407 comments off of 50,500 views, 2,500 likes, can't see the dislikes anymore, could if you really wanted to. And the feedback here, all of the comments are positive. I have not seen one negative comment about this. And I've also seen many comments which say, I'm going to have a look at Eve, I'm going to give this a try. I had a go at Eve once, I'm going to give it a go now, etc, etc. There you go, I'll be playing Eve Online, convinced to get Eve Online. I'll never play Eve, fair enough, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's pretty cool. They all like it. I've not seen one negative reaction here. There was one comment that was something along the lines of, oh, maybe next time they can do something with Fortnite and I can have a TARDIS regeneration skin, something like that. But, you know, just fun, but not complaining about what the crossover actually is. They're happy that there is one and they're interested to see what Eve is about. In terms of getting Doctor Who fans to come and have a look at Eve Online, it looks pretty good. There's lots of people here say they're going to come and have a look. And props to my mate Eventon for getting in there with his little hello and a little bit of translation for the Doctor Who new bros. So that's one side of the coin. The external reception is very positive. The internal reception inside the game, unfortunately, is very mixed, I would say, to say the least. I'm just going to play some random frolicking incursus footage in the background now. I'm not really going to talk about it. I was going to show you some of the highlights of posts on Reddit and Facebook and stuff like that. But to be honest, you've probably seen it all before. I've seen most of it before. Now, I know this is a new one for sure. And if somebody had asked me a month ago if Eve Online, or even today to be honest, if Eve Online's going to do a crossover, what do you think would be a cool crossover for it to do? I have to admit, Doctor Who would not have crossed my mind at all. There's no gameplay connection to a time-travelling police box, by the way, America. It's not a phone booth, it is a police box. There's a difference, I promise you. Anyway, I'd have maybe said something like Battlestar Galactica, stick some Xylons in there. Or 40k. In fact, Warhammer 40k, we've got our own crossover going on right here. Here are my boys, my kill team. The Rust Eaters. Declared heretic for their trust in the Rust. What can I say? There's all kinds of things that can be done. The fact this crossover isn't the one I would have chosen is not the end of the world, is it? There'll be other ones. Maybe one of them will be more cool. It doesn't mean this one's not going to be fun. We don't even know yet again what it even is yet, guys. Just like that last one about the mining. When it hadn't happened yet, you know. And there is plenty of positive reaction to it being Doctor Who within the Eve community. You know, that's plain to see too. It's fun, it's different, why not? And as for the video getting that kind of reception in the Doctor Who community, that's invaluable. Surely this game needs new players. It needs a constant influx of new players. Hopefully we'll retain more and more of those new players and the player base can grow. That is what we need. So how else do you do it if you don't go outside of the community we've already got and say, hey guys, this is Eve? That seems to be the primary purpose of the crossover, to be quite honest with you, to get Doctor Who players looking at Eve. It's not to get Eve players looking at Doctor Who, is it? Now, before I move on to the other reasons that this has got a rather frosty, or should I say very negative reception from some parts of the Eve player base, I will voice my one concern about what's going on here. Now, as we've seen, there's been a very positive reaction in the Doctor Who community, and that's great. The event starts in 6 days' time. It sounds like it's going to involve a little bit of getting around, knowing what you're doing. No idea what the combat might be like. Are we going to need any scanning skills? Will I need a frigate? Will I need a cruiser? Who knows what? So a Doctor Who fan who's seen that video, as soon as it went online yesterday, if they'd gone straight into EVE Online, they had, what, a week to get ready to play this event, and all they're going to find when they go into the game is the new player experience, which to me is a downgrade from the last one, and off you go, good luck. There's your career agents. nothing to prepare them for whatever this event is going to be when we are kind of bringing them here. I say we, obviously in a very royal sense. We're bringing them here to play this event, and will they even be capable? Will they have a clue of how to run the event? Because potentially there's going to be nothing more frustrating than those guys coming here to do a bit of Doctor Who stuff, and they simply can't, because they can't fly the right ship. Now obviously that may be sorted out by there being a very low entry level, at least for some level of the event sites, as there is in other events. You know, there's the high sec one, the low sec version, etc, etc. So maybe the high sec one you can do quite low skills in a frigate comfortably. Again, we don't have any details to base anything on. I can only speculate. The other alternative, of course, might well be some kind of special deal package in the shop to help you down that road. And well, Eve is now a free-to-play game with a shop. Well, what can I say? As I'm preparing a video on that whole subject, that side of Eve, its evolution in the time that I've played it, which I think now is like 11 years. My oldest daughter is 11 years old. And Eve is certainly the only game I know that has been in existence during what has basically been a complete transformation of the financial model of gaming. And how it's dealing with it. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but that's a story for another day. What are the other objections? Well, some people don't like it because it just so isn't New Eden lore. There's no Doctor Who, there's no Daleks, has no place here. What are you talking about, governor, kind of a thing. To be honest, I've, you know, I do 40k, I've played role-playing games since you've done them with pencils and paper back in, you know, the early 1980s. I like a good bit of a role-play game. The most recent kind of pen and dice game I got, 5 Parsecs from Home, about 3 months ago, and me and Dexter played Necromunda 2. Personally, I don't find there to be much of a role-play lore-based element in Eve. Now, as you know, those of you that know me, I am always saying Eve is whatever you are making of it and however you're enjoying it. And I do know there are people who are very into the role-play, and I'd love to hear from you actually. How do you, just to talk to you about how you do that, what that involves, because I'm actually genuinely interested, because I don't see that there's much in the lore, and I'm sure there's much less talk of that in game and in events now than there used to be back in my distant memories. There's still a whole lore section of the website. I'll link it down below. It's Eve Universe. There's a lot of stuff there for you to have a look through. My point is, it doesn't really actually affect your gameplay very much. All that choosing a race determines is which frigate you can fly at the start, and then that ship tree obviously has its own character of weapon preferences, etc, etc, etc. But as soon as you start cross-training, there's no roleplay involved in EVE Online at all, unless you do one of the more kind of, I guess, role-playable sides of the game, and that's your choice. But to me, I don't feel that bringing anything into the game for a couple of weeks that's not going to leave anything behind other than some trinkets is something that breaks the law, because the law isn't something that is a day-to-day part of the game. Unless, of course, you want it to be because of the way you play the game, in which case 100% respect. But does it really have any lasting effect to your kind of role-play universe that for 2 weeks in January, if you popped a filament, you could see Daleks? God, that reminds me of a night out in the 90s. But anyway, do you see what I mean? There's nothing, I don't know. I don't quite see that the effect of a 2-week event on the wider game lore can have any lasting kind of breaking of immersion for anybody, because you don't even have to run the event once or ever wear a scarf. Triglavians came in from nowhere, they're now part of the lore. You know, maybe it could have been the Xylons. What would you have made of that? Half of us would have loved it, half of us would have hated it. It's Marmiteville round here, isn't it, really? Although, to be honest, no, I would agree that the permanent inclusion of kind of some third-party faction would have been a bit much. The Triglavians are cool. I like them. I like the effect they had on the game. This game has to change. It has to evolve, both within the gameplay itself and in the way it presents itself to the world. As I said, this game has been around as everything has moved around it. It's had to evolve on the fly, which is a great disadvantage, as we see. Because I'm one of those players that knows this is a subscription game, and it took me a little bit of time just to get my head around exactly what, you know, microtransactions, seasons, etc., and whether they were worth it. And I was very suspicious and very skeptical, and I was there when the store was first opened in EVE Online, and I witnessed the fallout to that, although there was a lot more to that than just a monocle, as I've said before. Before we move on, of course, there is a giveaway for this fine scope venture skin. Comments down below, please. Remember to leave your in-game name. Anything relevant. What do you think of the event? What would be your ideal crossover with EVE Online? Anything down below. Be polite. I'm very interested to hear what you all think. And yeah, role players specifically. Drop me a line. I'd be interested to find out what role playing within New Eden is all about. Now, the third cause of complaint to various degrees is what is being expressed as real anger and frustration that CCP is supposed to be fixing issues in the game and they're wasting their time on this. As I said, I don't think this was a huge investment of time. Everything is there for them to just skin and brand. Obviously, a new interior for the instance for the event. But this was never, something that was talked about as don't worry, we're going to fix everything in January. This event, as far as I know, the announcement was pretty out of the blue. What were you expecting? Nobody has said this was what was fixing the game. This event is simply giving us a novel and completely optional thing to do within the game and attracting players into the game. And we've had so many protests over, the last year or so now? Over what? CCP trying to address some issues in the game. And of course, again, it's all being done on the fly. It won't all be quite right the first time. Some of the stuff I've seen out there on Facebook, which is where I look in particular, I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit to be honest with you, it's just been nutty. I mean, there was one guy and he basically posted, "This is not what we wanted." Now, how many people out there who can individually claim to represent some mass of the player base, I don't know, but everyone seems to be entitled to do it these days or feel entitled to do it. It's a little bit odd and you sound a little bit stupid when you start your statement what we need or what we want is, and it's clearly just the way you play EVE and that's what suits you, mate. So stop it, This guy nobody wanted the Abyss, nobody wanted Triglavians, nobody had a problem with bots, nobody needed these mining changes, CCP, waste your time on all that junk, and now you do this. Nobody needs single instance PvE in this game, blah blah blah. And I actually think the Abyss is something that's very good in the game, to have something you can just pop a filament and play EVE for 20 minutes, because not everybody plays EVE for the amount of hours that other players do. They don't play EVE in the way that other players do, and I know there are players, they have maybe 3 hours a week if they're lucky to play EVE, and they want to know they're going to be active, engaged hours making some ISK, and the Abyss is a great way to do that. Just because you play it in a completely different way doesn't mean those things are meaningless to the rest of the players, to other parts of the player base. This is what I really don't get about these really narrow-minded, it isn't what I want, so it's rubbish. And also this increasing thing of, it's not just about, this is my opinion, I'm not happy about this because of this. It's all this, oh, we should protest, we should do this. I don't know. It seems like there's a competition. Well, there is a competition, isn't there, on social media, to be the most outraged, hurt, disappointed, whatever. But there you go. It's not useful, really, is it? I mean, this is a 2.5-week event, a casual event that will come and go, and people are acting like it's what CCP have done in a whole year. I understood with the miners that they were losing a big investment in some respects on time and skills and stuff like that when there were adjustments made to those ships. But in terms of there being a temporary event you don't like, and saying CCP shouldn't do any of this stuff to try to get new players in the game, but should focus entirely on satisfying old, well-established players and their demands to make the game the way they want it to be, that suits them. You're welcome to explain to me that there's more to it than that, because that's all I see in a lot of these posts, to be honest with you. And yet again, this event hasn't even happened. So I'll do another video about the event while it's going on, and I'll tell you what I actually think about it when I, like some of you, actually know about it, because at the moment it's all just speculation. I think it's a good idea to try stuff like this. You should have seen what has happened in World of Tanks over the last couple of years. It went from pure World War II. I mean, you don't need lore when it was all history based, and then there's cartoon tanks and Hot Wheels tanks, and I can't imagine an equivalent in EVE, or what 40k did when they just made all the old Marines redundant and you buy these new ones, or you're just stuck in the past, mate. Sorry, that's the way it is now. And the lore justification for them was that some bloke on Mars had them in a vat for 10,000 years but never thought to mention it to anyone before. I've seen no equivalent of that in EVE Online in the whole time I've been playing it. I dread to think how players would react if there was something lat crunching happened in this game, or all your skill sets got reset to skill points and all the skills got squished up together like they did in World of Tanks 2, when you were potentially working on those crews for around a decade now. I've seen nothing like that in EVE Online. We've all got our own way of playing EVE, and it affects us all in different ways. Every change is a different effect on somebody else, or has no effect on someone else. So I think we need to all start thinking about the game as the big player base that it is, with the difference of people that is in it, and stop always getting these big arguments over the slightest thing. And I'm sorry, but 2.5 week temporary event is quite a slight thing in the history of EVE. Let's keep a bit of perspective. It might be a rubbish event, but we'll know about that after, and CCP will know it was a rubbish event, and they do something else next time. You know, they've got to try things, haven't they? And the only place to try some of it is in-game on us. So I think this event is interesting. It's something new, it's something novel. I hope it is fun. I hope it's accessible for the players that are attracted to the game to have a look at it. I think that is the main thing in terms of whether the event is a success. And yeah, I hope a lot of players have fun doing it, and I hope that, you know, the concerns of other players get addressed later on at a different time, because it can't all be done at once. And I'm not prioritising me or anyone else in that. It's just, you know, that is a fact of life. So I'll leave it there for now. I'll be back at the weekend for some proper pew pew. Take this Daredevil out for another spin maybe. But leave your comments down below. I really do value all of the opinions. I appreciate what a tapestry New Eden is, and that's one of the reasons I love it, to be honest with you. So do that. Leave us a like if you liked it, found it interesting. Subscribe if you want to stay in touch. Click that notification bell, all that usual new YouTube nonsense to keep the algorithm happy. And remember, my friends, even is believing. So get out there, fly brave, have fun, and for now, goodbye.